Let's have a look at shape morphing inside of Friction. Now, we'll be diving into shape morphing itself and a bit of match cut to somewhat simulate the shape morphing, and we're going to combine a bit of shape morphing and match cut in the end. So let's get started with the simplest one, which is just basic shape morphing. So over here, I have this little example here. Now it goes pretty fast, and it might be hard to see, but if I move frame by frame, you'll see how the square becomes a circle, and then the circle then becomes a triangle. Okay, so basic shapes, this is somewhat basic, but it will teach you quite a lot, I think. So if I grab the point mode and I grab the triangle right now, we have our usual nodes. So we have the vertices, and then we have these two red ones over here. Now, what are these two red ones? Well, if we go back to when it's a circle, these two red ones are actually part of the circle. These are these two over here. And if we go back to the square, you can see we have our four vertices which make up the square. We have a red one here in the middle. And what this red one is a dissolved vertice or dissolved node. So these two on the triangle are also dissolved nodes. All right, so if I were to right click on one of them, you can see we can promote to normal. And if I right click on one of the normal nodes, you can demote to dissolve or demote to dissolve approx. The demote to dissolve approx will try to maintain the shape of the object when dissolving the node. Meaning that if I were to dissolve one of the nodes for the circle, it would attempt to stay a circle. Actually, we can try it right here, right now. Let's simply dissolve approx. See here how it tries to keep the circular shape in the dissolve. Let's undo this. Okay. Whereas if we simply did dissolve, it would remove the node and deform the shape, basically. Okay, so we also have this option here. If you look at it, let's go frame by frame. So our square somewhat collapses on itself and then pops into a circle. Now this one's not the smoothest one. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's grab a square. Again, we're doing basic shapes. So I'm going to hold down Shift to make it symmetrical. I'll press F for the fill and stroke, and I'll change the color to something a bit less painful to look at. Okay, so this object over here, I'm going to center the pivot, is an object. This is not a path. So we first have to go to the menu bar inside of path and say object to path. This will create a copy of it, which is the path. So I'll simply delete the rectangle and I'll keep the path, and let's rename this to square 2. So for the shape morphing, what we're essentially doing is animating the path's property of this path. And if I add a keyframe, we have a keyframe for the path. And now whenever we change the path itself, it will add an additional keyframe. And now it goes from one shape to the other. Okay. Now the thing with Friction is you can make your path take on the shape of another path. Meaning if I bring in a circle, and let's convert this to a path. I'll delete the circle and let's rename this one to circle 2. Okay. Because otherwise, if I simply draw a circle here, what we have is an object. Okay, so let's undo this. I'll turn off the keyframes. So when it comes to the morphing, you might have your shapes, your existing shapes, and use them as guides so that the object that you actually want to morphs into these different shapes. What I mean by this is if we want the square to become a circle and we don't want it to move over to the circle's position, we could just grab the circle. Let's change the color or simply make it an outline if you don't want the color. Let's move it over the square over here. We can even move it to the back, whatever makes it feel more comfortable. And now all we have to do is to grab both the square and the circle. Okay. And if we left click on a node and then we hold down Shift and we snap it to one of the nodes of the circle, you'll see that the square becomes a circle. Well, it takes on the shape of that node. So essentially, if I just left click, hold down Shift, drag it over the nodes, okay? And now we have our square, which is now a circle. So very basic, very straightforward. Now, in the case of what we just did, if we were to undo this, and let's now add a keyframe to the path of the square, and let's simply repeat what we just did. I'll move forward a few frames, and we're simply going to repeat what we just did. we're going to turn the square into a circle. All right. So now you'll see that the square does a little bit of rotation to match the circle, which is to be expected. One workaround for this would simply be to rotate the circle itself. Now later on, when you get into some more advanced morphing, knowing the order or the orientation of the nodes might come in handy. And this is where the next feature comes in. Let's move them apart. If you hold down Shift and Control, Friction will show you the orientation of the nodes and their count. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is clockwise. Same for the square over here. Now you don't have to match these numbers to each other when you're doing the morph. That's not the point. And at the top here, we have set first node and we have reverse node order. So if I want node number 2 here to be the first node, so node 0, I can simply grab it. Let's hit set first node, and now it is the first node. Likewise, if I want it to go counterclockwise, I can simply hit reverse node order, and now it goes counterclockwise. Just little things for later if ever you need to troubleshoot things. Okay, so that's essentially a morph right there. Now that we flip the order of the nodes, so now they're counterclockwise, you'll see that the morphing is all out of whack. And this is because of the order of the nodes. So reversing the order of the nodes and changing the first node does get incorporated into the keyframes. So if, for example, this is clockwise, I go back to the first frame and I set it to counterclockwise. Now when we go, you'll see that 0 is trying to go back to the position of 0 on the circle. The order has changed. Okay. Anyways, so that is the very basic of shape morphing. You simply animate the path property and you can use Shift to make the nodes transform into the nodes that you're targeting. Now, over on this scene, we have a bit more of a complex system, and it's not really that complex. Let's just go ahead and play back. Okay. Now, I did not actually morph the square into each one of those shapes. Instead, what I did was to simply have a circle, a hexagon, and a star. And I use these along with the visibility range in order to cut between the shapes as the group over here, which is being controlled by a null. This square control here is the null that you see here in the center. So this green object here is a null and it is controlling this group over here. So the null is driving the movement and the shapes are simply cutting from one shape to the other as it arrives at the destination. And that's all it's doing. So essentially I'm using a match cut of the position really to cut between the objects, giving the impression or an illusion of a morph really, but it's a match cut. Okay. So this one is simple enough. To do it, we would simply have to activate the visibility range of all of these objects by right-clicking, going to visibility range, and then adjusting the start and end of the visibility range. Okay, now let's go over to our match cut. So over here, we have, again, another simple match cut. So what we have here is a square, which moves from left to right. And then we cut to the triangle, which continues the movement. Now, you might notice that the square and the triangle are moving together. This is because the triangle is parented to the square in this case. So inside of the triangle transform, if we go down to transform effects, we have parent and it is parented to the square. So let's go ahead and do this from scratch. So we can do a rectangle box. I'll change the color again. Now, for this particular example, because we're doing a match cut, we don't have to convert this into a path, although we might want to for the next example. But let's go ahead and do this one simply. I'll center the pivot. Let's go inside of the transform. I'll add a keyframe on the x-axis. Let's move forward a bit, a few frames, and we can now move our square to the other side, the rectangle box. And there we have it. This is a simple motion. It goes from left to right. So let's go ahead and create a triangle now. Now to create the triangle, I will duplicate the rectangle box. I'll call this triangle. For this one, we will convert the object into a path. Let's call this again, triangle. And let's go ahead and grab the two top nodes. I will add a node, so this will new node. And now I can delete these two corners up here. And we have our triangle. Let's change the color just for now so we can tell it apart. There we go. We could also scale this. So I press P on the keyboard to have the global pivot. And now I can scale these two nodes apart symmetrically. Let's move this up a little bit. Okay. I'll press P again to go back to the local pivot. We can now parent the triangle to the rectangle box. So first I'm going to delete all the keyframes on the x-axis because this was a duplicate of the rectangle box. And inside of transform now, we can simply go to transform effect, and parent this to the square. Now, alternatively, you could put these two objects inside of a group and simply animate the group's property, making it move from left to right. That way there's a separation of the animation. It's almost the equivalent of using a null to control the objects. So really, it's up to you, whichever goes best with your workflow or your projects. Okay, so now that they are parented, the triangle should simply follow the square or rectangle box. Now, I'll move back to the first frame or frame 0, and I'm going to press GX and I'll move the triangle forward a bit. And now I'll move a bit further behind, somewhat of the same distance, and I'll press GX and I'll move it to the left. Okay. Now what we're left with is a little bit of anticipation before the object moves and a little bit of overshoot and ease back into its original position. Okay. So for the animation itself, we can add keyframes to ease it and give it a bit of smoothness in the motion. So I will grab the X value of the rectangle box and I'll switch over to the graph editor. We can even expand this a bit. I'll grab all of the nodes. I will make them smooth nodes. And let's have a look already at what it looks like. Okay, we can even exaggerate the motion even more if we wanted to by grabbing the node, dragging it on the X axis. So I'm left clicking, holding and pressing X and dragging it out a little bit. Here there's almost like it's a big jump. I do want a little bit more smoothness out of this. So I'm going to reduce this here. Actually, I might even rotate a little bit. Okay, I'll bring this in, bring this one in as well. Let's see how it looks like. Good enough. So now let's find the fastest point of the animation. We could say it's right here. It does this jump over here. So let's say at this point, let's exit the graph editor. We'll grab the triangle and the rectangle. Let's right click and go to visibility range. So for the rectangle, obviously we want it to start from the very beginning and we'll drag it not on the frame, but one frame before. So drag it over there and then move one frame forward. Now, I don't know if this is a feature or a bug, but so far, if the playhead even touches the visibility range, the object is visible. So now for the triangle, let's simply drag the visibility range to this point over here. So after the rectangle disappears, and now we can expand it for however long we want it to last. I'll change the color a little bit. Okay. And now we're left with this match cut. It happens during the fastest point of motion. And of course, the color shift might not be desired. So let's say I grab this or press B to bookmark the color. And then let's grab the triangle and make it blue. Okay. So that's basically the match cut approach. Now, if we look at this other example that we have here, this approach here is the bin Marriott approach, if you will. So where we have a match cut, but at the same time, we have a bit of morphing to blend the two together. And then the little drop that pops out. This is fully taken from bin Marriott for this one. Okay. So for these shapes over here, it's essentially the same thing where we have a square, a triangle, and I've added the blobs, which are the little shapes that come off. And I have a light. Well, I call it simple light because it's for the simple, but let's just call this rim light. The rim light is this shape over here. It is being clipped using the source up top so that it only appears where we have the square and the triangle. So I'll lock it again. So we're essentially doing the same thing here, except that now the square is a path and so is the triangle. And as it moves towards the cut, the square is being deformed. So essentially, We have the path of the square animated, and we are simply deforming it. And then we've also deformed the triangle so that the two shapes somewhat match on the cut. And the triangle is continuing the motion of the square and then slowly easing back into its stop position. So essentially that is how you can do match cuts and shape morphing inside of Friction. Now this is just an introduction. We'll dive deeper into it, making some more animated or fully composed shots soon enough. There's a lot happening, keeping me away from making the tutorials, but soon the channel will be fully back on track. In the meantime, I have a Ko-fi link down in the description for those of you who like to support the channel. You can click on this playlist here to learn more about Friction, or this playlist to learn more about Kdenlive. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.